And now, it's Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on AM 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk, broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. The second half kickoff brought to you by Global Scarves, producing soccer scarves for over 40 years. Get scarves for your local club, organization, school, or business at globalscarves.com. Check them out today, globalscarves.com. We've got scarves. Now you can too at globalscarves.com. Good evening. My name's Tyler Green, on Twitter at TylerGreenFC. Alongside me, Simon Fudge, SimonFudge74 on Twitter. Still lots to get into in the second half, including a chat with Sporting KC's play-by-play voice, Callum Williams, at 11:30. Jordan Harvey will join us at about 11:45 to discuss what he did on the break and what Vancouver needs to do to get points. 3 of them on Sunday. But first, Simon has some scores from the start of the Football League over in England.
The world's oldest and original soccer competition back at it again today in the championship. There was a game last night. Blackburn Rovers won, Cardiff City won. Derby County, one of the favorites for promotion, beating Rotherham United by a goal to nil, and Watford 3, Bolton Wanderers 0. In League One, Sheffield United are odds-on favorites to get promoted, defeated at home by Bristol City by 2-1. It was Fleetwood Town 2, Crewe Alexandra 1. Marcus Haber was a late substitute for Crewe in that game for his debut. In League 2, Michael McCall's AFC Wimbledon held to a 2-2 draw by Shrewsbury Town. And in the score of the once mighty Portsmouth held to a 1-1 draw away to Exeter City.
All right, time now to chat with Expert Physio's David Sandals in tonight's injury report, brought to you by Expert Physio in Burnaby and online at expertphysio.ca. Joining us on the program is Expert Physio's David Sandals. David, welcome back to the program after the long weekend hiatus.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tyler. Glad to be back.
Now let's start, Simon, just talking about in England and the leagues getting kicked off there, and there's some new concussion protocols over in England as well.
Yeah, the FA has really jumped in here, I think with both feet, with regard to what they're going to do with concussed players. They're now going to insist the player leaves the field and gets examined by the team doctor. And it is the team doctor who's going to make the decision as to whether or not the player returns to play. Not the coach, not the player, not the management, but the team doctor. Now, they've also added a third tunnel doctor to the game. This is in the Premier League anyway, to support the work of both team doctors. And this guy's going to be reviewing the video of any kind of any head contact incidents in the game to see if there was any potential for concussion. I'm not really sure from what I read whether or not it's going to mean this guy could actually call a player off the field to be examined, even though he perhaps didn't go down. So it's quite a big deal. Also, the FA's launching a big educational program to educate players and management with regard to how to deal with concussions, both on the field and also the post-concussion rules for bringing the player back. And the players are now, as part of their annual physical, supposed to have neurological assessments as part of that. It sounds like they're going to try and do some cognitive functioning testing, so they get a kind of baseline on the player's cognitive function. So this can be retested after a concussion to see if the scores are, up to scratch, up to that particular player's norm. Now, it all sounds very wonderful, but to me, this is kind of shutting the barn door after the horse has bolted. I mean, what are they going to do about the fact that these collisions that are happening on the game are causing the concussions? Mm-hmm. And that's my big concern, because after we watched the World Cup, we all watched so many games of the World Cup, and it seemed to me that it was the aerial collisions that were causing the injury problems. So there doesn't seem to be any attention paid to whether or not there should be any kind of change in the rules with regard to what happens in the air, or changing the way that collisions in the air are refereed. So, this may help players recover and, be less dangerous for them in terms of being a soccer player who's been concussed, but it doesn't really address the problem that seems to be occurring at the high level in soccer.
David Sandals joining us here on Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk. David, of course, with Expert Physio online at expertphysio.ca. David, the other thing, and I think this is a good one for all the recreational athletes out there, whether it's soccer or whether it's any sport in reality, but a lot of soccer players now getting sort of into focus for their fall seasons, kind of getting into that training system. And, well, the big question now of whether to ice an injury or whether not to ice an injury. Some new research done on that.
That's right. There's been quite a little bit in the last few years, and it's all been brought together recently, and we're seeing a lot of information coming through that says, do not ice your acute injury. Do not ice that sprained ankle. So there's a bit of controversy here now because this is the way I was brought up. This is the way I was trained, this is what we believe. Incidentally, in traditional Chinese medicine, it's believed to be counterproductive to ice an injury. So perhaps they are right, and perhaps Western medicine has got it wrong because now the research is telling us a lot of stuff. I mean, does ice reduce inflammation? Does its application improve the healing process? And recent clinical trials and the use of what the acronym we use, RICE, R for rest, I for ice, C for compression, and E for elevation, has supported the use of compression, but not the use of ice. And we need to bear in mind that the inflammatory process is essential for actually properly healing the tissue. That's the way our tissues heal. And research has shown that movement and muscle contraction promote blood flow. We know that's important because you've got to bring the good stuff into a healing area and truck out the bad stuff, and that's what the circulatory system does. But ice has been shown to reduce muscle contraction and may actually restrict lymphatic flow and increase swelling, and that's not exactly what we want. And a recent study on anesthetized rats, they had some damage done to one of their leg muscle tissue, and one group was iced, the way we sort of normally would after a sports injury, and one group wasn't. The injured muscles were then checked regularly over a 4-week period, and the ice group healed less well than the non-ice group. So in other words, the muscle tissue healed up better in the non-ice group in these rats. So, that there are now a number of other studies that indicate that ice to be actually a detriment to healing tissue. So there is some potential good use of ice. The post-operative joint, i.e. someone who's had an ACL ligament repair or meniscus surgery, studies have certainly shown that there's a great deal of value in reducing post-op pain, which if you've got reduced pain, then you can move the joint more easily, and we know motion is lotion. However, based on current evidence, we need to continue with rice, but without the ice. I.e. some rest, but remember it's circulation through movement and muscle contraction that will help get rid of swelling by promoting the circulation and also help the healing process. Compression would seem to be helpful in the research. There seemed to be some benefit from that. My personal regime with ankle sprains and knee sprains when I've been, attending players actually on field has been to get them compressed, i.e. taped up really early, and get them able to sort of move through a relatively full range of motion without too much stress, and then told them to ice on top of the tape. I've always kind of thought in the back of my mind that icing on top of a bunch of tape probably isn't going to do much. I'm kind of hoping it didn't now, based on the research. And elevation may also promote the venous return and circulation, especially if it's accompanied by some movement.
Okay. Well, David.
So that's kind of like where we're at right now, and hopefully that'll be helpful to our injured players.
Yeah, definitely. And, of course, if players are injured, the best place to go is Expert Physio, 2 locations. David, thanks again for joining us, and we'll talk again next week.
Yeah, thanks very much, Tyler, and we can talk about the anti-inflammatory controversy next week.
Definitely. Thanks, David. David Sandals joining us here on Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk. Physiotherapist at Expert Physio, of course. Hey, injured? Whether or not you need to ice or not, definitely go check out a physiotherapist. And David Sandals, one of the best at Expert Physio, expertphysio.ca. If you care about your health, why not work with the experts? Convenient clinics in Burnaby Heights and at 8 Rinks. For more information on the services they provide, visit expertphysio.ca. Expert Physio, getting you back to full health. I highly recommend them. I visited David myself. Visit them again. expertphysio.ca. All right. We've got plenty of audio to come. here on Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk, including both head coaches, Carl Robinson of the Whitecaps, Peter Vermees of Sporting Kansas City. We'll talk to Graham Zusi, David Osted, among others. Kia Vancouver, mention my name, save $500 more on your new ride. Simply mention Tyler Green of Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk. You get $500 off. Kia Vancouver, 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, KiaVancouver.com. All that audio and the manager's rant is next.
Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTalk650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on AM 650.
Not that your stylist at the salon isn't doing a good job, but man, you deserve the big red leather barber chair experience of Barber & Co. Here's how it works. Go to barberandco.ca. Book your appointment at one of the 4 barbershops in Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, or Cambie and 18th. You can just walk in, too, and get your hair cut, hot shave, buzz cut, fade, or beard trim experience. A great wedding party idea, too. barberandco.ca.
The Vancouver Street Soccer League isn't out to change the world. Just give the men and women in our homeless communities a chance to play soccer. Regardless of skill, everyone's included in practices and matches with teams from UBC, the Vancouver Police Department, the Vancouver Mayor's Office, and more. The focus is fun, but it builds skill and confidence, and that can change someone's world. Find out more at VancouverStreetSoccer.com.
Vancouver Street Soccer League. Get into it and get behind it. And let's change the world.
The 2014 season of EA Sports BC Soccer Premier League. Welcome to the front lines of the game. Welcome to the big league. The one that provides an elevated level of competition for high-performance players within BC and contributes to player development for the Canadian national team and professional opportunities here and abroad. This is where you're going to see the top youth players in action. Catch some of the most intense soccer in the province. EA Sports BC Soccer Premier League. For information and upcoming games, check out bcsoccer.net.
The 2015s have arrived at Kia Vancouver, so come score a 2015 with ultra-low weekly payments, 0 down and 0% financing for 84 months, or a huge clear-out deal with up to $7,000 in cash rebates on select 2014 models with their no-bull pricing. But hurry, limited time offer at Kia Vancouver, Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon.
And remember, only Kia Vancouver gives you free lifetime car washes, oil changes, and free airport shuttle and parking with your new Kia purchase.
These jeans are pretty cool. They make me ride faster on my bike, and the best part, I can fit a bunch of stuff in the pockets. I find a lucky penny, I'll just stick it in that little pocket.
Your kids' jeans are a really big deal for back to school. And right now, they're an even bigger deal. Now until August 28th, boys and girls Cherokee denim is starting at $9, only at Target. Target, every little thing is a really big deal for back to school. Product availability may vary by store. See target.ca/back to school for details.
Polo! Now that summer is finally here, On the Run stores at Esso stations want you to enjoy every moment. Polo! No need to search for great drink deals this summer, because On the Run stores at Esso stations are featuring refreshing offers to keep you on the go, like Pepsi 591 milliliter, 2 for $3.50, taxes and deposit extra. Polo! Summer is the season to get outside and get moving.
No! Fish out of water!
Ah! Fuel your summer fun at On the Run!
Back. This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on AM 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
The Vancouver Whitecaps currently sit 7th in the Western Conference, and it's a tight conference with just 10 points separating first place, Real Salt Lake, and the Caps. So it's imperative that with 13 matches remaining, the Caps attempt to get the maximum number of points they can in order to make the MLS postseason. And it is their goal. Whitecaps head coach Carl Robinson said that the playoffs are a goal in 2014. Otherwise, what's the point of even playing? And he's right. Historically, 50 points tends to be the benchmark that will get you into the MLS playoffs. And that means that Vancouver needs 21 points. But here's what Robinson had to say this week on that very subject.
39 points from now, so let's win every game and we'll be all right, I think. I don't know, people say about 50 points and things like that. It's up for debate. It's a different conference this year. We look at when we got to the playoffs 2 years ago. We got more points last year, but we missed out on the playoffs. But you got to remember, 2 years ago, the league is totally different. Players are totally different. Teams are totally different. They're changing. And I think everyone's beating everyone or drawing with everyone at the moment. So I don't know what the points total will be, if I'm honest. It's going to be very close. I do know that. I think one or two teams might run away with it in the West. I really do. The stronger teams, I think, might do that. And that's not saying we're not strong, but the usual suspects will be there. And then I think the other places will be very, very close and very tight.
And I'm a fan of that answer. And he went on and talked a little bit more about how tight it was going to be. But I like his answer, and I'm a fan of his answer of saying 39 points. And yeah, he said it a little bit jokingly, but don't settle for less than the maximum available, 39. It's a good way to do it. Don't just walk quietly into the playoffs. If you're the Whitecaps, why not just kick that door down and make it known you're getting into the playoffs? I don't think that they're going to get 39 points realistically, but hell, why not try to at least get 39 points?
Yes, and it's about, I think more than anything, a run of consistency here from performance and results that we need to see. We've been kind of waiting for all the pieces and the promise and the potential to come together, and it's at a point now where it needs to come together. And if it does, then I think it could be a very exciting time, because the Whitecaps would be at least going into the postseason in really good form, and that's really what you want to aim for. The team that is going to win this MLS Cup is most likely going to do so playing their best soccer through the latter months or the latter stages of this season, and it kind of really starts now to build that momentum.
Yeah, definitely. It does start to build now, and it's very important that they do that, and they start it all on Sunday against a Sporting Kansas City team. So it is going to be really interesting to see what they can do, but they need to start winning games. You look at what happened tonight, well, Portland got a victory, and that means that they jumped ahead of the Vancouver Whitecaps. And granted, the Vancouver Whitecaps have some games in hand that they can get past them again, but when they play those weekends together, they need to make sure that they're still ahead of them, so then they can create that space when they get to play those games in hand and maybe catch up to some of those teams that they're chasing in the playoff picture. And that means beating everybody. Yeah, you got to beat your Western Conference teams, but Sporting Kansas City is a tough team that nobody else has really been able to beat in Major League Soccer, especially in the Western Conference. So if you can go out and beat them, get the full 3 points, that's going to be huge against some of those other teams that might not be able to get those points. That might be 3 points that you can bank there a little bit later on.
Absolutely, and I think the league is one in such a way that I look at tomorrow as being one in which the Whitecaps will actually get that result, because teams just never are given the tendency of being able to really pull away if they've been in a great run of form, like Kansas City have been. They usually at some point have that run come to a stop, and probably tomorrow there's a very good chance that could happen.
And one of those guys that is going to try to make it happen for the Vancouver Whitecaps is David Osted, and he spoke to the media yesterday about that and what it is going to take for the Vancouver Whitecaps to win.
I think it's the details, the little details, both defensively and offensively, marking up in the box, making sure we're getting clearances, and up front putting away the chances we're creating. I think we're playing some really nice offensive soccer, and putting away the chances is going to be a must.
Meanwhile, head coach Carl Robinson, we'll hear from him now as he talked a little bit about this Kansas City matchup for the Vancouver Whitecaps.
We played Sporting KC on Sunday, MLS Cup champs, 4 MLS All-Stars. Probably maybe a future coach who's going to be the men's national team in Peter. So, they've got the strongest team in MLS at the moment, arguably. So it's going to be a great test for us, but it's a test we're ready for. It's a test that will show us whereabouts we are in relation, and it's a game that I feel we can get a result out of. Not a draw, but a win.
And they need a win. And, as much as a draw and a point taken away against a KC team would be great, you're at home and you should get victories at home, and that's the biggest thing. The Whitecaps have to get back to making sure that it's tough to play against at BC Place and pick up those 3 points, pick up the wins at home.
Especially when they've got 2 consecutive games coming up at the StubHub Center in Carson, California. Really important. Really important that they win tomorrow, I think.
Conversely, we'll take a look now at some of this Kansas City side, and we'll hear from their head coach, Peter Vermees, who had his thoughts on this Whitecaps team.
I actually think that I think Vancouver's probably I think they're one of the best teams in the league. I really do. I think when you look at their roster, the dynamicism that they have in the group, I think is excellent. I think they're incredibly quick on the counter. I think they're probably the fastest team. I think LA's very good on the counter. I think even Toronto has got speed on it as well. But I think Vancouver's probably if not one of the most dynamic teams in the league. So I think from that perspective, they can be a very, very dangerous group to play against. I've always been a big fan of a lot of guys they have on their team, on their roster. So it makes for a very difficult game when you come to play a team like this. So it's as we know, when you go anywhere, first of all, when you play a team in MLS, there's so much parity that it's always difficult. But this team has a little something different, and we have to be really alert over the course of 90 minutes because the way they transition and the way they go, it can really hurt you.
Meanwhile, Graham Zusi, World Cup star for the U.S. men's national team, was an all-star as well. He talked about playing this Vancouver team and how he views the game coming up tomorrow.
It's an out-of-conference game, but a chance for us to get 3 points. That's how we look at it. We don't really change our style when it comes to home and away. We've got a great record on the road because of it, and we're looking to come in and get points.
Meanwhile, center back defender Aurelian Collin on plane in Vancouver. A tough place for Sporting KC to play, but he talked about playing here in Vancouver.
It's always hard to come here. It's a different field than Sporting Park. It's a tough. Vancouver is a very good team. I've been here 4 years. Every time I like the way they play. Very physical, from the defense to the attack, and we come here. Of course, we need to win. It's very important for the team. I know who we're playing against, and I hope we want to try to make the best of it, to try to play as much as we can the way we've been playing. But on the turf, it's always very complicated, especially when the team puts a lot of pressure on us. So we'll see what happens, but we come here. I know it's going to be a fight. We're ready for it.
And Simon, you were at training today. How did KC look in terms of their preparation and in terms of, were they a team that seemed loose and ready to go, or were they a tight team that seemed just so in focus and tight as can be?
They looked loose and confident. I think today it seemed to be a bit of a run, but they looked a relatively happy, confident bunch. I mean, certainly the run of results they've had of late, and especially the way they have played away from home of late, would suggest that they feel pretty good. They looked assured of themselves, I would say. Through it was a very simple training session that they had, but most of the players I saw out there looked quite assured of themselves and feeling like they can come here and get something.
And this is a Sporting Kansas City team that has really had injury concerns throughout the entire season. They've had players away on World Cup duty. They've had players away on international duty, all-star duty now. So it's been a team that hasn't been at full strength. So how does Peter Vermees look at the game against Vancouver?
The obvious thing would be to say that you have to get points, right? I mean, that's always the obvious one. But for us, I think the really big thing is that we just haven't had any consistency this season. At one time we had 14 guys out on injuries. We've had 2 guys gone with the World Cup team. We've had another guy that's constantly traveling, to his national team as well. So we just have had an inconsistent group. We've had a different lineup every game thus far, this whole entire season. We've never had 2 games consecutive where we had the same group of guys on the field, nor in the same position. So from that point of view, it's really about us trying to get some consistency and finish off the rest of the season with a little bit of that continuity that we need to get as we go into the end of the season.
And we'll get final predictions from Simon and myself a little bit later on in the program. But let's look back at that All-Star game because it is tonight's Barber Poll, Brought to you by Barber & Co. Get the authentic straight razor shave or a fantastic haircut. Whatever you need, hit up barberandco.ca for the location nearest you. Should Bayern Munich return to face the MLS All-Stars next season in a rematch? Tweet us your thoughts, Soccer Talk 650, at Tyler Green FC. Free lifetime car washes, oil changes, and get this, free lifetime airport shuttle and parking service, Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, KiaVancouver.com. Jordan Harvey still to come. Talks all things Whitecaps, what he did on the break. We talked haircuts off the air. Won't get into that, but we'll talk to Jordan Harvey in about 15 minutes. But up next, Callum Williams, the voice of Sporting Kansas City, previewing this KC team next.
This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on AM 650. Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC.
Whether playing soccer on this continent or football on every other, Umbro is the name worn by top players and teams worldwide. Those same uniforms are available for your team or club at Umbro.com. Umbro, proud to be the official supplier of Canada's men's and women's national teams, is celebrating 90 years of expertise in the game. If you want your club to play like the pros, dress them like the pros at Umbro.com. Umbro, the heart and soul of football.
The 2014 season of EA Sports BC Soccer Premier League. Welcome to the front lines of the game. Welcome to the Big League. The one that provides an elevated level of competition for high-performance players within BC and contributes to player development for the Canadian national team and professional opportunities here and abroad. This is where you're going to see the top youth players in action. Catch some of the most intense soccer in the province. EA Sports BC Soccer Premier League. For information and upcoming games, check out bcsoccer.net.
The 2015s have arrived at Kia Vancouver, so come score a 2015 with ultra-low weekly payments, 0 down and 0% financing for 84 months, or a huge clear-out deal with up to $7,000 in cash rebates on select 2014 models with their no-bull pricing. But hurry, limited time offer at Kia Vancouver, Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon.
And remember, only Kia Vancouver gives you free lifetime car washes, oil changes, and free airport shuttle and parking with your new Kia purchase.
The Straight Razor Shave, a leading man classic. Steady hand coaxing the rugged face back to smoothness. This nearly lost art has found revival at Barber & Co. Hot towels, straight edge blade, and your face. It's an experience that reminds you you're alive. You're a man in the company of history's finest men. Start at barberandco.ca. Pick your barber shop in Yaletown, Gastown, the Financial District, or Cambie and 18th, and relax into the big leather chair for the shave of your life.
Right now at Inspiration Furniture, it's the Good, Better, Best event.
Good prices.
Better value.
The best deals.
The more you spend, the more you save.
That's right. Volume discounts. Spend more, save more.
Great savings store-wide on sleeping, dining, working, living.
You must ask about their easy payment plans.
And check out the new arrivals.
Celebrating their 12th anniversary and thanking you for your support. It's the Good, Better, Best event at Inspiration Furniture.
West 6th between Granville and Oak and Vancouver. Lots of free covered parking.
Hurry. Time is limited.
This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on AM 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
Kia Vancouver, 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, KiaVancouver.com. I'm driving a new Kia Sorento, and you can too. And you can save $500 when you simply mention my name, Tyler Green of Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk, and you save 500 big ones. Only at Kia Vancouver. Whitecaps hosting Sporting Kansas City at BC Place, and to talk more about that match is the voice of Sporting Kansas City, Callum Williams. Callum, thanks for joining us.
Tyler, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Now, first off, I guess we know that KC is obviously one of the top teams in MLS. They're the defending MLS Cup champs. They've had 4 All-Stars. They've potentially got a future U.S. men's national team head coach in Peter Vermees, but you know, what makes this team so good? Because it seems like it was, just a few years ago when they had to have the rebrand and everything because it just didn't seem like anything was working. And then, boom, all of a sudden, Sporting KC is the team that everyone wants to talk about.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, Tyler, there's several things that make this team one of the best in Major League Soccer. First of all, it's the style and the tactics that the manager, Peter Vermees, you mentioned a little earlier on there, has implemented in this side. He took over back in 2009, and it took a couple of years for him to really get the players he had to buy into the system that he wanted for this team, a fast, fluid style of football. And it took him a while himself to figure out what kind of formation he wanted to play. But once he did, he got the players in that he needed to and the players that he wanted to as well to play the kind of football that he wants to. And the main difference for me this year as well is the fact that this year they do have a goal scorer. That's been a bit of a problem for Sporting KC over the past couple of seasons now. But with Dom Dwyer, as you saw, an MLS All-Star, 14 goals and counting so far this year, he's been virtually unstoppable, scoring at every attempt, doing ever so well, and it's safe to say he's one of the main threats in Major League Soccer at the moment, alongside Bradley Wright Phillips of New York. So things going very well for Sporting KC at the moment, and it should be an interesting game against Vancouver.
And Peter Vermees kind of touched on this at training earlier today, that this is really the first time that they've kind of had everybody involved in this side now here for the final stretch. It's been guys away for their national teams. There's been injuries, what have you, but now they actually have that full roster almost.
Yeah, they do. At one stage, it was unbelievable. Sporting Kansas City have used an absurd amount of centre-back pairings this year because of the injuries and because of international call-ups as well. For a long time, Beasley was obviously away with the U.S. national team at the World Cup. Lawrence Olum was away on international duty with Kenya. Aurelian Collin got himself an injury. And then that meant Kevin Ellis was drafted into centre-back, and there were a couple of other issues with other players as well, which meant 17-year-old Eric Palmer-Brown, a homegrown player, came in for his MLS debut just a couple of months ago, and he looked a little shaky when he first started playing, naturally as you would do as a 17-year-old, but he's grown into the role when he's been called upon, and he's been absolutely wonderful. Nothing but impressive over the last couple of times we've seen him. I haven't seen him for a while now, for good reason, obviously, with Beasley and Collin being back, and Stanovic has been wonderful at left back, and Igor Julião has emerged as a very good talent, a very good promising talent for Sporting KC. Got him on loan from Fluminense in the Brazilian Premier League. He's got an opportunity because of Chance Myers and the injury that he sustained a few months ago. So it's very, very good pickings for Sporting KC at the moment at the back. And as you mentioned, the roster for the first time in what seems like a long time is fit and ready to go. And we all know in this stretch of the season, this final third, it's more important than ever.
This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk, 396 Southwest Marine Drive at YukonKiaVancouver.com. My name's Tyler Green. Alongside me is Simon Fudge, broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios as we talk with Callum Williams, the play-by-play voice of Sporting Kansas City. And Callum, 4 players on the MLS All-Star team roster. How, if any, effect will that have on the guys as they head into Vancouver tomorrow to play this game?
Usually I would say yes, but because it was in Portland, because it's in the same time zone, and I know they've had a day off or two in between, I don't see there being any effect, to be totally honest. Dom Dwyer, as I said earlier, has been sensational since he really started playing first in football for Sporting KC. Graham Zusi and Matt Beasley have been absolutely wonderful as well, part of the national team, and doing ever so well for Sporting. But there was one player, obviously Aurelian Collin doing well as well, but there's one player that we really thought should have been on that All-Star team, and that's Benny Feilhaber, arguably playing the best soccer of his career right now. And, we all, as I said, felt as though he should have been on the All-Star roster, but we also felt he should have been on the national team as well, at least given a look in that 30-man roster. But it's safe to say Sporting Kansas City, for a long time over the last couple of years now, they've very much been focused on playing as a team. But for me, what's been very, very evident and very, very evident over the last couple of months here in this season has been the individual performances from several people. As I mentioned, Dom Dwyer earlier on, and in particular, Benny Feilhaber has been absolutely wonderful. And the good thing is about this team as well is I would say they're just as, if not more comfortable playing on the road than they are at home as well, because a lot of teams come to Sporting Park and they sit, and Sporting Kansas City at times find it quite difficult to break them down because they are so defensively minded. On the road, obviously, Sporting Kansas City don't adopt that approach. And the home team are there to attack. They want to obviously pick up points at home. The Sporting Kansas City, a lot of the time, are given ammunition to push themselves forward and play the way they like to play. So it's going to be very interesting against Vancouver Whitecaps, actually. Expecting an interesting game.
Yeah, Peter Vermees was saying that he thinks that Vancouver is the one, if not the best, counterattacking team in Major League Soccer with all the speed that they have. Is that the way that you see Vancouver being able to beat Kansas City, or is there a way to beat Kansas City?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with Peter Vermees' comments during the week. The one player which I'm absolutely busting at the gut to see is Pedro Morales, the designated player. I think he's a fabulous player. I managed to get a glimpse of him while he was at Malaga in La Liga while I was on vacation there a couple of years ago, and he was fairly good there. And he's obviously settled into life in Major League Soccer superbly as well. But interested to see how the Whitecaps approach this one. I think Fernandez and Hurtado, if they play wide, they're not quite wide players, are they? They pinch themselves in a little bit, and that allows Bader Shaw and Harvey to push themselves forward and really operate almost as fullbacks, very much similar to the style that Sporting KC play, with Igor Julião and Seth Sanovic given similar license in the way they play.
Callum Williams, the voice of Sporting Kansas City, joining us here on Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on AM 650 Radio in Vancouver. Callum, you mentioned Benny Feilhaber, Graham Zusi, Dom Dwyer, the likely candidates that people know about and are going to be watching. Is there one or two players on KC that maybe the rest of Major League Soccer doesn't yet know about that should take notice of?
Well, the one player I will say to watch out for will be Jorge Claros. This is the new Honduran midfielder that Sporting Kansas City recently signed. Honduran international, 53 caps under his name. He played in all three of Honduras' World Cup games. Obviously, it didn't go very well for them at the World Cup, but nevertheless, he's very much a defensive-minded midfielder, a player who really likes to drop and dictate the play. And as I said before, with the way Sporting KC play with Sanovic and Igor Julião, the two fullbacks you would imagine would start, he does give that little bit of extra cover, something that perhaps they've missed since the departure of Uri Rosell. Jorge Claros was somebody that the club, at least to my knowledge, has been chasing for some time. Now they've got him in, and I think that the one thing which Peter Vermees really likes, I mentioned earlier on, about this system that he's implemented. I know Vermees likes his midfielders to work hard, and obviously as a holding midfielder, you've got to work hard, you've got to track back and cover ground, but Jorge Claros will do all those things. He'll cover ground, he'll make the sliding challenges when necessary. But the one thing he does do very well, as I mentioned earlier on, is he dictates the play very, very well. A couple of times against Philadelphia Union, I noticed he would drop awfully deep, almost playing a centre-back, actually. And as I said, obviously that's good when the fullbacks are pushing forward because he gives that extra bit of protection. And also one thing he does as well is it allows Benny Feilhaber to push forward and be that creative spark we all know he can be.
Callum, obviously Sporting Kansas City, Vancouver, one of the most memorable games in Vancouver's short MLS history was that game in 2011 at Empire Field. Obviously a lot of fireworks in that one. Can we expect anything less in the game tomorrow?
Well, first of all, thanks for bringing that up. I thought you would at some stage. I mean, what a fantastic day that was as well. Not only for the Whitecaps, but also for me as a football commentator as well. Just purely from a neutral point of view, that was unbelievable watching that game at Empire Field and commentating on it. I'll never forget that moment when Camilo scored right at the last minute. I remember the colour commentator we had at the time, Sasha Victory, and I actually had to hold on to him because our commentary position was shaking so much. It was like being at an old school gantry in England away at QPR or Charlton Athletic or something. It was unbelievable. Yeah. But, it's a fabulous memory. And obviously now the Whitecaps continuing on and doing very well in MLS. And, I must admit, I do love this city. I'm a very big fan of the Whitecaps franchise and what they've done here. Clearly they've made their market in this city, very much like Sporting KC have in their markets. And, I think it's going to be a battle of two very well-established franchises, actually, who clearly have made their mark, not only in the cities that I mentioned and the markets that I mentioned, but more so as well within Major League Soccer, I think. I mean, the signing of Pedro Morales, for me, was perhaps a turning point for this franchise, for Vancouver. it wouldn't surprise me at all to see even bigger names come to this place. I'm in my hotel room right now, just glaring out to this gorgeous city. I can't imagine it would be very difficult to attract people to come and live here. The ownership have clearly made a statement of intent by bringing in somebody like Pedro Morales, drafting players like Darren Mattocks, developing young players as well, like Erica Tardo, who's been fabulous, I think. I think Carl Robinson as well has been very shrewd in the transfer market as well. I thought Matthias Laber was a very, very good signing. At one stage, I think it looked as if Matthias Laber would have to move away from MLS to get himself any sort of first-team football. But I thought Carl Robinson and the Vancouver Whitecaps hierarchy were very, very shrewd in acting in a way to get him over here. So credit to them. But I think it's exciting times for Vancouver Whitecaps. I really do. And, again, looking at the table at the Western Conference, I know it's very, very tight, as it should be. For me, the West has always been a very, very entertaining conference. But I see no reason why Vancouver Whitecaps shouldn't be in that top five and in the playoffs. For me, they are a very well-established franchise, even in the short history they've had in this league. But as I said, tomorrow, I think against Sporting Kansas City, the one thing I think we can predict is goals. Interestingly enough, I was having this conversation with a couple of the coaching staff and a couple of our television backroom staff here that travel with us, and we all think there's going to be goals against Sporting KC. Two very fluid, fast-thinking footballing sides. It's going to be an entertaining game at BC Place.
Yeah, the game in 2011, I think, also one of the games that Jimmy Nielsen would love to forget.
Absolutely, yes. I think he would agree with you there as well.
Yeah, I remember post-game, he was not a happy man in the Kansas City locker room, that's for sure.
I can't think why. But no, honestly, that was an absolutely wonderful moment. That was for Vancouver Whitecaps. But again, because at that time as well, I actually believe that it really captured a lot of soccer fans in Kansas City, because if you think back to, April 2011, it was early in our rebrand as well.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we were trying to attract new fans and market ourselves differently. And I think it really did give a lot of new fans a reason to continue to watch on. Okay, Kansas City didn't win the game, but that's not the important thing there. The important thing is that it was a very entertaining game, and it showed people there, because I think a lot of people in North America that aren't used to this sport, when they see a tie, they don't like it. And I think that was clear evidence that ties can obviously be very, very entertaining, just like that one at Empire Field. So I think it produced positives for both sides.
Calum, appreciate you joining us here. I know it was a hectic travel day for you, but appreciate it, and we'll see you tomorrow at the game.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Calum Williams. Thanks again, Calum, for joining us. Calum had a hectic schedule. They decided to fly to Seattle and then make the drive up here. 3 hours in the car. He was regretting it a little bit when I talked to him a little bit earlier tonight, just setting up the interview. That was Calum Williams, the Sporting Kansas City play-by-play voice of Sporting KC, and that was a great game, that game back in 2011. One of the most entertaining affairs that I think turned a lot of people into soccer fans in that one, and Calum touched on it. Same in Kansas City. Wasn't the result necessarily they wanted, but showed that it was a entertaining game. One of the other most memorable games that I can remember is the New England game in that opening year, where it seemed like near the end of it, we were thinking, are they actually going to have 11 players in total left? Because it seemed like everyone was getting sent off in that game. Do you have one game or one or two games that stick out in memory to you, Simon?
2012. It was the first time they wore the Arbutus Brown. Home to Colorado at BC Place, and Sebastian the two scoring the winner when they had actually gone down to 10 men in the last half hour and looked the better team with 10 men. A great setup by Cumiento, great finish, epic win. Probably one of the best I've seen of them in their very early MLS days.
The Barber Poll tonight, presented by Barber & Co. Get the authentic straight razor shave or haircut, barberandco.ca. Should Bayern Munich return to face the MLS All-Stars next season in a rematch? Dr_Who 147 saying for a rematch, yes. A revenge match, no. Pitbull Boy BC Watching on TELUS TV, channel 7005, if you're interested. My parents actually do this. They watch regular TV commercials. They flip over to the radio station. And they don't want to listen to me for 2 hours. They just commercials. But Pitbull Boy saying, yes, Bayern will be back because Pep loves the USA. Bretness37 on Twitter. New format, rest of the league versus MLS Cup champs in Vegas after the season ends. That's what he would like to see anyway. And Jonathan Tannenwald, the goalkeeper who joined us last week on the program, he actually tweeted earlier that he was listening to the show live for the first time. So thank you, Jonathan. Usually Jonathan downloads the podcast because it's a little late on the East Coast where he's from in Philadelphia. But he's listening live saying the sequel is never as good as the original. And there's some truth to that. You know, you're never going to get that the same fire that happened. And it's not going to – it's going to be in a different city, so there are some of those aspects. You can weigh in at Soccer Talk 650, at Tyler Green FC, at Simon Fudge 74. All right. We're going to take a quick timeout, and then when we return, we're going to get the final cut featuring Jordan Harvey today and the thing that everybody waits for. Hot Fudge. It's next.
Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on AM 650.
The 2015s have arrived at Kia Vancouver, so come score a 2015 with ultra-low weekly payments, 0 down and 0% financing for 84 months, or a huge clear-out deal with up to $7,000 in cash rebates on select 2014 models with their no-bull pricing. But hurry, limited time offer at Kia Vancouver, Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon.
And remember, only Kia Vancouver gives you free lifetime car washes, oil changes, and free airport shuttle and parking with your new Kia purchase.
Vancouver Street Soccer League is the beautiful game at its finest. Teams of men and women who are homeless, have recently been homeless, or are at risk for homelessness get together to train and play matches. It's great fun that builds skill and confidence, and the league sent players to 4 consecutive Homeless World Cups in Milan, Rio de Janeiro, Paris, Mexico City, and Poland. Find out more at VancouverStreetSoccer.com.
Vancouver Street Soccer League. Get into it and get behind it.
Held high above the heads of soccer supporters everywhere, the soccer scarf is a world-class tradition, and Global Scarves can get you into the game. From English soccer clubs to Canadian hockey teams, Global Scarves has been producing high-quality UK knitted soccer scarves for over 40 years. Because you're dealing directly, you get the lowest price and your order shipped in as little as 15 days. Global Scarves are a high-margin, high-spirited fundraising idea. Contact Brad at globalscarves.com or visit globalscarves.com.
With a barrage of time demands, as well as distractions and chatter coming through modern technology and the media, it's natural for us to want greater mental peace and clarity. Hear the insights and experiences of people who found spiritual calm and healing through communing with God in prayer. That's on the next radio edition of the Christian Science Sentinel.
Listen for the Christian Science Sentinel radio edition each and every Sunday morning at 8:30 on all-time favorites, AM 650.
How do you sell a diamond necklace you inherited or that diamond ring after the divorce? Canadian Estate Diamonds.
Canadian Estate Diamonds offers the highest prices for fine diamonds and gold, and 3 liquidation scenarios to suit your needs. Same-day payment via certified check, consignment website, or auction.
When it's time to sell, learn more at CanadianEstateDiamonds.com.
Join Canadian Estate Diamonds on AM 650's Boomer Life this Monday at 6. Other Boomer Life Monday sponsors include Riviera Retirement Living, Mainland, and Next Gen Hearing.
Back. This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on AM 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
Only at Kia Vancouver. Free lifetime car washes, oil changes, and get this, free lifetime airport shuttle and parking service only at Kia Vancouver. Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, KiaVancouver.com.
Oh, baby. Hot Fudge with Simon Fudge.
It's been a hot summer on the West Coast here, and the water can look very tempting, so I suggest you get out and get some swimming in if you can. And if you need to learn, Our executive producer, Christina, is a swim instructor, so if you need a bit of advice, you can find her on Twitter at Christina Dyke. That's at KRISTINADYK. Get out there, do some strokes, swim.
Actually, Christina gave my daughter a private lesson for swimming, 4-year-old. Enjoyed it. She loved it. So, yeah, Christina, she's good at helping kids swim. Or maybe you're an adult that doesn't know how to swim. It's time now for the Final Cut, brought to you by Barber & Co. on Twitter at Barber & Co. for full-service barbershops for your big haircut, hot shave, buzz cut, fade, and beard trim. Get the ultimate barbershop experience. 4 locations to serve you. Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District. The new location, Cambion 18th, barberandco.ca. And for today's Final Cut, we hear from Whitecaps FC's Jordan Harvey. Should be in the starting 11 tomorrow against Sporting KC. But prior to the interview, we talked haircuts, with Jordan asking me where I got mine. Of course, Barber & Co. Tell them you heard that on Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk. But we started the interview, we actually discussed the interview about what Jordan did about his time off last weekend.
They had the Pride Parade, and that kind of ends right around my house, so enjoyed that. A ton of people came out to support, which was great. And got into the parade. I actually did a dance with Out for Kicks, the soccer league. So I got into that and did a dance and walked the parade. So that was really fun. It was the first time I'd done that. And other than that, just relaxed, Vancouver's got some great weather, and just trying to take full advantage of it.
How important is that to kind of have that break at this point in the season for you guys?
Robbo's done a great job in giving us breaks throughout the season because it is a long season and we need that. We've had a few days off, I think prior to this, 3 or 4, and then this last break with the All-Star break, and it just kind of re-energizes you. You come back with a fresh mind, fresh legs, and you saw throughout this week of training that everybody was up for it.
The All-Star game, you mentioned it. Landon Donovan playing his last one. He's retiring. You're an American guy. What did Landon Donovan mean to the Americans growing up?
He's been the face of U.S. soccer, of MLS. He's a legend, man. He kind of paved the way for guys like me or a lot of American players, and really started a new generation of players that are coming through now. And, he's going to be definitely missed, but I'm sure he'll be hanging around MLS and U.S. soccer for some time. But he's definitely a guy who is a legend and a Hall of Famer, one of those guys that, he's paved the way and he's stamped his mark on MLS with the amount of goals, the amount of minutes, national team games. If you look at any sort of statistic, he's probably up there. So, great player. Haven't had the pleasure of playing with him, but against him, quality and class.
Jurgen Klinsmann's next assistant coach, maybe?
That's a stretch. But coaching, who knows? I don't know what Landon Donovan wants to do. He took a hiatus a couple years ago, so I'm sure he's probably going to want to take it easy before moving into some other sport or field or something. I don't know.
Now you got to focus, obviously, on Sporting Kansas City on Sunday. What do they bring that you guys have to really be careful about?
They've got a great system, and all the players do well in that system. They kind of found it early on with guys that have been there for so long and kind of developed into a great team. And then they've got great players that fill in for those guys when they're out on national TV duty or whatever. And then they've got a dangerous striker in Dom Dwyer that's hot right now, obviously, with the amount of goals he has. There's quality players all over the field. It's about us, though, I think, really. We've been competing at home. We're playing really well at home. And if we eliminate mistakes, I think I'm very confident that we'll get 3 points.
What do you need to do? What is your sort of... I know you don't want to share your game plan.
No, but it's more the same. It's what we've been doing. I think we've been playing really well at home. I think it's just the mistakes that have really cost us, whether that be red cards or penalties or just mistakes that have given up goals that we haven't necessarily conceded, just bad mistakes. And so I think if we eliminate those and obviously finish the abundance of chances we usually get at home, I think we're more than capable of coming away with 3 points against a quality team in Kansas City.
For the crew here at Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk, my co-host Simon Fudge. Simon, thank you. Where can we read you this week?
On goal.com, absolutely. And we'll be doing a couple of things for the Courier over the next couple of weeks, for sure, yeah.
Excellent, Simon. Thank you. Executive producer Christina. who, if you are a single male who needs to learn how to swim, Christina will also be more than willing to help you out. And for producer Greg the Hammer Ballack, who just reached his 1,000th Twitter follower. He's very pleased by that. Thank you for all your assistance, and special thank yous to Thomas Rage and Fred and Co. Thank you for the continued support. My name's Tyler Green. You can catch me on Twitter at TylerGreenFC, also on Wednesdays in 24 hours. Thank you for listening to the program tonight. You can download the podcast at am650radio.com. Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk returns next Saturday at 10 p.m. It's following the Whitecaps and Chivas USA match. We'll have all the post-game coverage you can possibly need for that one. Plus, we'll maybe a special guest, a former Whitecap, could possibly join us as well to talk about what he's doing now within Major League Soccer. That's 10 p.m. next Saturday, right here on AM 650 Radio. And of course, the Beatles are next.
This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on AM 650. Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC.
The 2015s have arrived at Kia Vancouver, so come score a 2015 with ultra-low weekly payments, 0 down and 0% financing for 84 months, or a huge clear-out deal with up to $7,000 in cash rebates on select 2014 models with their no-bull pricing. But hurry, limited-time offer at Kia Vancouver, Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon.
And remember, only Kia Vancouver gives you free lifetime car washes, oil changes, and free airport shuttle and parking with your new Kia purchase.
Whether playing soccer on this continent or football on every other, Umbro is the name worn by top players and teams worldwide. Those same uniforms are available for your team or club at Umbro.com. Umbro, proud to be the official supplier of Canada's men's and women's national teams, is celebrating 90 years of expertise in the game. If you want your club to play like the pros, dress them like the pros at Umbro.com. Umbro, the heart and soul of football.
Pain or injury slowing you down? Take it to the choice of many top athletes, Expert Physio. Serving the Lower Mainland for over 35 years, the team at Expert Physio is dedicated to individualized care with specialized services such as orthotics, acupuncture, IMS, plus dizziness, pelvic floor, and certified hand therapies. Over 300 physicians referred to Expert Physio last year, and 100% of patients surveyed said they'd choose Expert Physio again. You're in good hands with Expert Physio. Burnaby Heights or at 8 Rinks, expertphysio.ca.
The Vancouver Street Soccer League isn't out to change the world. Just give the men and women in our homeless communities a chance to play soccer. Regardless of skill, everyone's included in practices and matches with teams from UBC, the Vancouver Police Department, the Vancouver Mayor's Office, and more. The focus is fun, but it builds skill and confidence, and that can change someone's world. Find out more at VancouverStreetSoccer.com.
Vancouver Street Soccer League. Get into it and get behind it. And let's change the world.
There's no better time to celebrate your curves than summer. And there's no better time to save on stunning plus-size fashions than right now at Fashion Edition 14+. Right now, save up to 70% on the most chic summer styles. Amazing colors, top designers, and beautiful fabrics, all tailored to have you turning heads and moving with confidence. Save with style and celebrate your curves during the summer sale at Fashion Edition 14+. In Vancouver, Langley, and South Surrey.